Good morning, everyone. I'm Todd Barron with the National Weather Service. I'm an emergency response meteorologist up in the Tampa Bay area, and so I'm here to talk to you a little bit about our pilot project that we have going at the National Weather Service and some high-impact decision support services that we're providing for the Tampa Bay region. Okay, so the National Weather Service, we have this new program called Weather Ready Nation, and Weather Ready Nation started back in 2011, whenever we had 14 separate billion-dollar incidents across the country, ranging from the tornado outbreaks in the southeast, wildfires in Texas. We had Hurricane Irene hit the northeast, Snowmageddon, all that good stuff. And then we saw that carry over into 2012, where we had 11 separate billion-dollar incidents, wildfires out west, tornadoes again out in the plains. So we're realizing that we can't physically stop these disasters from happening, but we can help prepare the communities and help mitigate some of these potential disasters. So here in Florida, well, we haven't really had a big billion-dollar disaster in a long time, but we do have disasters. So we saw back in, I believe it was 2008, 2009, we had a big squall line go through the Gasparilla Parade. Right out our window right here, we had red tide this past summer. Mammal rescues, beach erosions, the Sun and Fun over in Lakeland, which is the second largest fly-in for aviators. Tornado ripped through there about 3 years ago. So at the Weather Service, we're trying to be more proactive in helping mitigate some of these things, and because of these disasters, we're able to provide more on-scene decision support too. So now we had a presence over at the Super Bowl. We were at the RNC providing weather support. We're always at the Sun and Fun. We're always at Gasparilla for these big events. And the added caveat to that is that it is tropical season, and even though we've been spared these past few years, Tampa and the west coast of Florida is pretty vulnerable to hurricanes. So with this pilot that we have going on at our office, there's two sides of it. First is our operational and response side, which I kind of alluded to earlier. Any type of big weather event, we can be on scene, we can provide decision support. We have a team of 3 emergency response specialists, including myself. We can work with emergency management communities to help provide weather support for any major event, whether it's a planned event like the RNC or whether it's an unplanned event like an oil spill, hazmat incident, big wildfire. The other side of our project is our theme of our pilot, which is integrated environmental services. So we're meeting a lot of environmental and ecological partners to find out what their weather concerns are, what their impacts are, and help fill any voids in weather data that they may have by creating and modifying some of our current weather service products and services. So one thing we have to do is realize that we need to adapt to a changing customer base. And so we have to let go of some of these old technologies that we have, such as these old text-based forecasts, and these highly detailed forecasts that no one really understands, so they're not really providing much of a service. So we have to adapt to the 21st century and adapt to those customers. And so we're doing that now by making better graphics and embracing stuff like social media to get the word out. So a lot more people are being reached through social media, through their smartphones, through their tablets. And we're also embracing some more video conferencing type stuff so we can reach a far more array of customers and our key stakeholders. And one thing we have to do is be much more proactive with this program. And us as forecasters, we want to be proactive in knowing when to communicate and how to communicate with our key partners. And those partners need to be proactive in their operations whenever they get our forecasts. So to do this, we have to hit the road and actually meet our customers, whoever they may be, no matter if it's a big agency or a small agency. We want to get to know them, get to know their impacts so we can help forecast those impacts. So one thing we're going to do is actually go through our forecast and help and look for those impacts. And one thing we want to do is exploit the strengths. So one thing we're starting to realize right now, in the Weather Service, we're getting a lot more high-resolution modeling that are really starting to nail our forecast. And, truth be told, 4 to 10 days out, our models that we use are just as good as our human forecasters, if not better. So why not just let the models do that long-term forecast so we can find windows of opportunity to enhance a forecast for a specific area or a specific event? So to do this, we just look for those windows of opportunity. We have to have really good situational awareness to know, well, we're having this event looming on the horizon. What agency is going to be impacted? Is it going to be the Coast Guard? Are they out doing a lot of rescues today? Is there, like the Gasparilla Parade, is something big like that going on? Or is there a wildfire out there? What's going on, and how can our forecast, no matter how big of the forecast event or how small it is, who's going to be impacted? And don't worry about some of these insignificant forecast elements. Find those windows of opportunity, and we're going to add value to those forecasts. And I alluded to this earlier. We have to have a good arsenal of communication tools to help ease that communication barrier. And a couple things that we do nowadays, we can provide that on-scene support. So this is actually me out here while I was dispatched to Challis, Idaho for the wildfires out in Idaho this past summer. So we can provide that on-scene support for large events like the Gasparilla, Type 1 fires, RNC, big hazmat incidents. For smaller events to hit a specific agency or agencies, if we know your impacts, we can send out an email briefing letting you know, hey, we know this is an impact you guys have, and we have this weather event looming on the horizon. Here's what you can expect. And to have a more interaction with those customers or those groups of customers, we can also initiate webinars as well. So learning from some of our decision support services that we've already provided from a planned event like the Republican National Convention. So we learn how to deal with those stressful deadlines and delivering forecasts from all sorts of different angles to multiple agencies and trying to communicate that one consistent message throughout all those agencies. So knowing this is just a small sample of some of the impacts that we knew that was going to affect the RNC. And knowing that, we were able to communicate that message with a variety of customers. But lo and behold, so we knew this was going on, and then we had Hurricane Isaac hanging off our coast too, so that added in a whole other caveat. So we learned how to deal with a variety of situations and how to deliver that message to some of these big entities. And that helps us to prepare for some of the unplanned events. So a few weeks ago, we had a sulfur fire and a train derailment at the port of Tampa. So already that we have, by having experience in these planned events, it helps us get ready for these unplanned events. Knowing your situation and knowing your impacts of the day, even though 90% of the time we're not going to have a big impact, but just knowing the weather impacts of that day helps us to prepare for these unplanned events. Having those communication tools is key, and then also our partners having trust in us, and us trusting our partners in our forecast really helps ease some things. So another small sample of some of the hazmat decision support that we were looking for with this train derailment and how we communicated well with the Port of Tampa and Tampa Fire and Rescue. So a more proactive approach to some of these decision support services. We created this website called the Tampa Bay Marine Channels Forecast, which is a product or service specific for pilots, captains navigating large vessels through the Tampa Bay Channel. This is a point forecast for about 13 points along the Tampa Bay Channel. It gives the user high-resolution forecasts for a handful of marine data such as winds, gusts, water levels, visibilities, anything that could affect the vessel traffic in Tampa Bay. And some of the other cool things we're adding to this is more a cross-section forecast, so those captains, those vessel operators can get a quick glimpse of what's going on just from one part of the channel all the way up to another part of the channel. And then another cool thing we're going to add is a weather activity planner or a vessel planner that you can take in a variety of weather elements, set your own thresholds, and it's going to output windows of opportunity where your thresholds are being met or where they're not being met, so help you plan for your day. And actually, this thing is already available on our website right now. It's more land-based, but we're going to try and make it more marine-based. And this is a really good tool to use for planning purposes, especially if you have specific thresholds. So if you go to our website, weather.gov/Tampa, we forecast all the way down here in Fort Myers and Charlotte area. So if you have any weather concerns looming on the horizon, you can input your parameters here and then see when those are going to be met. Pretty cool little tool. Another proactive approach that we're taking is these are our current marine zones right now. So we have about 7 marine zones, including Tampa Bay. And what we're going to be doing now is separating out Charlotte Harbor. So those forecasts for our marine areas are going to be much more detailed, especially for the Charlotte Harbor area. And that's going to be taken into effect in December of this year, I believe. So all of our marine forecasts are going to be much more details for this area down here once we separate out Charlotte Harbor. So moving into the last topic of everything, us as an agency at the National Weather Service, we have to evolve in our operations here. And we realized this a few years back. We can either do nothing and just become an insignificant agency in the federal government, or actually move forward and actually make a difference. And I think we're definitely moving forward into the right direction. And how we do our operations, this is on a basic 3-man shift at our office. This is kind of how everything's laid out. We have a data support person that brings in all of our data, QCs it. We have a digital support person that actually does our forecast, the text products, watches the radar. And our new position is our decision support desk. Those are the guys going to be doing the social media stuff, using our chat system to talk with our partners, issuing any short fuse statements, doing webinars, email briefings if need be, and watching the radar as well. So one of the evolutions that we're starting to take is on every Thursday with emergency managers, we're doing webinars just to give them a heads up on the weekend's weather, just so they can prepare for any event. And those are going to be eventually evolving into weekly briefings for specific agencies. So we could be doing a weekly briefing for the Coast Guard, for our environmental and ecological partners, for our fire weather users. And we can also do briefings, short fuse briefings or webinars based off our impacts catalog. So once we go out, know who you are, know what your impacts are, and we look 3 or 4 days out, we see, oh, here comes a cold front that's going to have a significant impact for Florida fish and wildlife. Let's send out an email briefing or webinar, give them a heads up. So we're being proactive in hopes that those agencies will be proactive. So we're going to be evolving from that manual forecast production that we have been doing for the past couple decades. So, that dinosaur type mentality, and moving on to interpretation of the forecast, embracing stuff like social media, GoToMeeting, all these forecast tools that we can help spread the message to multiple agencies and to specific agencies as well. So in conclusion here, with the National Weather Service, we're going to be evolving as meteorologists, and we're going to be communicating more of our forecasts through those perceived impacts. So, there's going to be the dawn of new meteorological services and technology is upon us right now. So as an agency, we need to wake up with the rising sun, and I think we're definitely doing that right now. So with that, I think I have time for some questions. Yes, we have a question over here.
Hi. I wanted to ask about the fire forecasts that come out twice a day. Is there going to be any improvement to those, especially more specificity like per county?
Yes, and actually there's a couple things with that. Going back to how we're splitting out Charlotte Harbor, I didn't mention it on here, but we're also splitting our coastal counties too. So we're splitting, so the coastal counties, we're going to now have fire weather zones for the coast and for inland. So that's going to give you a much more detailed forecast for those, daily fire weather forecasts. We'll be able to pinpoint the sea breeze a little bit more. It won't average weather for the entire county. It'll just be for the coastal areas. And anytime you guys are doing anything like a burn, a significant type event, you can put in spot forecast, and the forecaster will be there doing a specific high resolution forecast right for that area. And for any type of fire weather stuff, we're more than willing to do that.
Any other questions? Ooh.
Do you have any spatially based maps that you guys generate to show what rainfall has been over the previous day or previous week? There's good maps that you can get from South Florida Water Management District, but in the Southwest Florida area, it's not quite so easy to find out what the actual rain was.
Yeah, we do. I'm going to have to probably get your card and let you and email you the website. We are experimenting with a lot more GIS-based rainfall data, temperature data from previous days, but I can't think of the site that's not on top of my head right now. But yes, we do produce those.
Well, I'm ready to put the decision support tool on my favorites page.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Todd. That was really wonderful.
Thank you.